We touched on the new quarterbacks. Getting back to the guy, Kedon Slovis, the numbers were fine. Of course, they won their first 5 games of last year until they got to the Pac-12 championship game. But there was a lot of talk, and it was pretty obvious in watching him play. It just didn't seem like the ball was coming out of his hand right. Just didn't seem like he had the kind of velocity that he had the year before. Was there ever really anything substantiated there? And I know that you mentioned before we started to record that being a point of emphasis in cleaning up some of his mechanics.
Yeah, so it's funny. We talked to last year, like Kedon Slovis, we talked to Graham Harrell, we talked to Clay Helton. We all got different answers of what, one day it was the ball was wet, or then it was windy, and we talked to people, it was like the Arizona game, it was like, well, it wasn't windy there. And it just became this thing, and I'm not sure they really, I don't know if they knew. They definitely didn't have their story straight. And I think for Kedon Slovis, a lot of it was he felt there was some arm fatigue there. He felt that he wasn't quite mechanically where he needed to be. And I think some of it comes from there's a little bit of a stunting going on where you didn't have spring practice. You were coming off an injury. He got injured in the very last play of the season for him in the bowl game and against Iowa. So he gets injured. There's kind of rehabbing back. He never got a chance to really sort of get his feet under him, and then you're pretty much thrown into the season, and it just wasn't quite there. Now he has this offseason to get ready again, but he worked with some of the different quarterback gurus out there. Tom House is a former major league pitcher. He works with Tom Brady. He's worked with Drew Brees. He's working with Kedon Slovis now and his group. And I actually got to talk to him this past week, and it's interesting, what they do as far as working on mechanics. Kedon Slovis said a lot of it was coming from his lower body, kind of making things more stable. And once you kind of get that stability going with your lower body, things were working with his arm. His arm's fine. He said he's throwing the ball. He doesn't feel like he's fatigued anymore. Just a few little mechanical things have helped out. So we haven't seen the ball really like flutter like we saw at times. Sometimes he threw it well in 2020, and sometimes it wasn't that great, wasn't that sharp. It's been sharper from what we've seen so far. So I think that, it could be one of those things where you have a little dip in the sophomore slump, and that, expectations are he gets back to that freshman year form, because he was really special coming in as a true freshman. Where, the other thing too, Mark, he didn't know he was going to be the starter. No one else knew he was going to be the starter. There weren't the expectations there were when you're like on Heisman list going into the sophomore year too. So I think there was a lot of different factors there. And I feel like my gut is he's going to get back to his old form in 2021.
30 TDs, 9 picks that first year. And really, off the top of my head, really the only game that he may have had a subpar performance was that game on the road at BYU.